Hi friends, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please subscribe now. Click the bell icon next to it and select All to ensure you don't miss any of my latest videos. There are many countries on this earth. One country does not fall for another. There are some friendly countries here and there, but most of them are enemy countries. Due to this, if any country introduces something, the majority of the people do not accept it or believe in it. But even in a situation where the whole world is divided, people believe in something mutually, that is, it is just a calendar. Everyone on earth believes in a calendar. Leaving aside politics and religion, they believe in the calendar very, very seriously. And what does everyone believe? We are now in the 21st century. We are in 2025. But do you know what a German historian says? He says that now we are actually in the year 1728. And he says that whatever the calendar shows us is a big lie and that sometime in the Middle Ages never happened. In fact, he even says that he will prove it. Let's get into the details. So why wait? Let's get into the video. In 1991, a German historian named Herbert Illig, along with some of his colleagues, proposed a radical idea that we are not living in the 21st century, we are living in the 18th century. He called this the phantom time hypothesis. That is, about 1,000 years ago in 1000 CE, a conspiracy was created between the Church and the Holy Roman Emperor. So they decided to change the year in the calendar from 614 to 911. And whatever happened during that time, we now know in history. At that time, nothing really happened except what they created. So, this theory says that even though nothing really happened in 300 years, they showed us that something great had happened. In fact, a historical person we heard a lot about at that time was Charlemagne. This Charlemagne was a very popular person in the Middle Ages, but this person named Charlemagne did not really exist. Illig keeps saying that this is all a fabricated story. Charlemagne was deliberately designed as part of a propaganda campaign so that no one would suspect this calendar change. Illig keeps saying that the basic reason for the calendar change was that the emperor, the pope, and both of them had more power. His theory is how the concept of this phantom time hypothesis was born and why he had the idea. But let's first try to understand it in a little more detail. Basically, how it was initially, the whole world had different time zones, that is, there were many cultures in human history, they used different calendars, some used them on a seasonal basis, some designed the calendar based on the sun, some decided on the calendar based on the moon, some just casually decided on arbitrary calendars. When the Romans occupied a lot of land on Earth, all these calendars created a lot of confusion for them. They seemed very complicated. So what they did was that in the 45th year before the Common Era, Julius Caesar, who was the leader there, proposed a standard calendar. He proposed the same for everyone. He commanded that everyone should propose the same. Why would they propose? They came up with the Julian calendar at that time. It is a calendar based on a tropical year. It is also called the solar year calendar. That is, how long it takes the Earth to revolve around the sun once. They proposed the year here. And they said that a year would have 365.25 days, and they said that there would be leap years. But the solar year was a little shorter than they thought. That is, it was not too much or too little. The expected number was 365.25, but there is actually 365.24219 days. So there is a difference of 11 minutes per year. So, 11 minutes per year may not seem like a big difference to us, but if we calculate it once every 128 years, the Julian calendar will lose one day, and after 1500 years, this loss will be even bigger. So, the church did not like all this. They thought that the spring equinox should be on March 21st. But in 1500 years, this spring equinox will fall on March 11th. This irritated the then Bishop Gregory. If Bishop Gregory was irritated, then obviously they will change everything as they like. So, that is why the church announced that we are changing the year. From now on, the year will have 365 days in a year and once every 4 years. They said that there would be an extra day, and apart from that they also changed some other rules. That is, since the Julian calendar was invented in 45 BC, and since the Gregorian calendar was accepted in 1580, there have been many days that were said to be 11 minutes a year. So they decided to add them all back. So what they did for that was they added 10 days to our calendar. So if you were on Earth at that time, you would have gone to bed on the night of October 4th and woke up on the morning of October 15th. Because they added 10 days in between, but since they have been losing 1 day every 128 years, if you calculate from then to now, 13 days are missing. But the Pope only added 10 days, that is, he added only 1,200 years. So in total, it became 1,500 years. So those 300 years are actually, their theory is that they didn't add it because it didn't happen. If those 300 years had happened, they would have had to add 13 days. Instead, they added 10 days and the equinox was also set perfectly. Basically, the gap that was missed was 13 days, but if they added 10 days, the equinox shouldn't have been set, right? Because 300 years had not happened before that, so adding 10 days was enough. Their theory is that did Prob do all this on purpose? That is, did he know that he had missed 300 years in the middle, or was it just a mathematical error? The kind of question that came to them at that time was that Prob Gregory would definitely make a mistake, but he wouldn't do it. The Pope had an idea about this, so he added it for only 10 days without telling anyone to cover up the conspiracy. They say that he did it and covered it up. So they are showing this as the main proof that those 300 years were missed in the Middle Ages. And all this happened hundreds of years before the introduction of the Gregorian calendar. All this basically happened before the Dark Ages. And the main point here is that there are no records or artifacts from that period. There are no records anywhere between the year 614 and the year 911. This 614 is the time before the rule of Charlemagne, and after this the Aenean dynasty started, but there is no information about it in between. So basically what I am saying is that basically all this was started by the Roman Emperor Otto III. This person named Otto III, along with Pope Sylvester II and the Byzantine Emperor Constantine, had a secret. He created the plan. They were living in the 7th century, they wanted to change it to the 10th century, so then it would be like he ruled the Otto new millennium, so his name would go down in history, so that's why he did that. His theory is that the records also say the same. Basically, we have all kinds of records up to the year 610, but after the year 610 all the records have disappeared. We have no records for about 300 years, and the architecture of that area is also almost the same as it was in the year 1000. Basically, there should have been a lot of progress in between, but what progress is there? Basically, a lot of technical advancement was happening in that area before 600 years, but what did not happen after that? And again, it was happening after the year 1000. Basically, in the Roman Empire, there were products, there was an indoor plumbing system and many types of there were technological advancements, and Da Vinci and many other great people discovered the new world. All of this happened, but in those missing 300 years, nothing happened. No scientific advancements, no new discoveries. Even European castles were the same as they were before. There was no advancement in that either. And there was no construction in that gap. So, something new had to be built. But then Illig found a document. In that document, 1,700 structures were mentioned as having been built during those missing 300 years. But when he researched all of that, he found that 97% of the structures were gone, meaning there was not even a small percentage of evidence that they were real. So he began to believe that the entire list was a farce, a fake. He just mentioned all of them with the intention of rewriting history. His theory is that even if pony archaeology proves his theory wrong, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen either. Basically, no human settlements were found from that period. No human remains were found from that period. Archaeologists have done many studies, but in any study, no traces of humans or their remains from the period between 650 and 910 were found. Not a single one belongs to that period. Why did that happen? That time didn't really exist. However, the name we heard most often during that time was Charles the Great, alias Charles the Great. However, according to the phantom time hypothesis, this Emperor Charles the Great never existed on Earth. If this phantom time hypothesis supporters say that, why did he die? If he was created, then everyone would be suspicious. The question arises that there was not a single great person in the 300-year gap in history. That is why he was created. He is a fake character. It is not true. This is the theory of many people. In fact, there are many problems with the history of Charles the Great because there are records that he achieved a lot. There are records that he was very great. But it is impossible for a man to achieve everything, as many people say. Charlemagne was not only an astronomer, an agriculturalist, but also an architect. He lived for 46 years. out of which 40 were wars. And where did he find the time in the rest of the time? He created a new jury system, brought more than 100 new laws, changed the education system, changed the scriptures, and how did he do everything? How did he treat the people so well? In that remaining gap, there were 4 or 5 lives. It takes some people to believe that to do this, but Charlemagne did all this in just 46 years, so that's why many people believe that this is fake. And what supporters of this phantom time hypothesis say is that they created all this on purpose because they say that Otto III created it to avoid any doubt. So, they say that they created a juicy resume named after Charlemagne, and that's their theory. And they say that the wars that were said to have happened during that time are also not true. And what changes did not happen during that time? There were no archaeological discoveries related to that time. But it's not enough for them to change history. They have to change history everywhere, especially in the Middle East and Asia. So they also say that Otto III took their help for that. In fact, many Islamic records have added many kinds of fake events, all of which are said to have happened in the middle of that time, but none of these really happened. Even Christians, Jews, Byzantines, and even they introduced new calendars going back to the 10th century. They say that all this was done for the Roman emperor. However, whether this phantom time hypothesis is completely true or false remains a conspiracy. In fact, most people believe that Charlemagne actually existed or not. In fact, even though everyone believes that his resume is exaggerated, they do not believe that he was completely wrong. However, he was very popular for 2 reasons. One, to win wars, and the second, to have many children. Basically, he gave birth to many children. And science, arts, law, and the rules of all these are in this regard. He was a little too concentrated. That's also something that many people believe very strongly, but all of that happened because of the people around him, who were great people. It's all the same, but we can't say that he did all of this exactly. We can't say that he was that talented. If he is real, then is this phantom time hypothesis true or false? Many people say that it is a maximum lie because there is something called Halley's Comet. This Halley's Comet is visible from Earth once every 75 years, 76 years. If we look at the whole history, the records related to it are once every 75 years. We have all of them since 475 before the Common Era. However, although there are no records related to this in European history, the records related to this are very clear in Chinese history. So not once, not twice, it is mentioned many times in between, once every 75 years, and not only that, after the fall of the Roman Empire. All the wars that took place are mentioned, and some important incidents that took place between 614 and 911 are also mentioned in Chinese history, and the poverty of that period is also mentioned very clearly in Chinese history. So definitely, was that period missed or not? It was not missed. It happened throughout that period. And why did Gregory the Baptist change only 10 days in the calendar and not 13 days? And why didn't he change those 3 days? That means it didn't happen for 300 years. What they later found out is that basically Gregory the Baptist changed 10 days on purpose. The reason for that is that before that, some people had already added 3 days in the year 325. The Council of Nice of that time had already added 3 days in the year 325. So, they only needed to add 10 more days. Those 3 days and these 10 days added up to a final total of 13 days. So overall, they combined what they had to combine, but there are still some who are not there. Then, in the 325th year, they are saying that they did not combine everything. This is all a lie. So, even now, some people believe in this phantom time hypothesis. But the majority of the people do not believe it. That is, that period did not happen. Those 300 years are missing. However, only a few believe that it did not happen. The majority of the people believe that all that period happened. So, after hearing all this, it becomes clear that the phantom time hypothesis is a lie. It is really 300 years and it did not happen. If not, what does it mean? Some scientists have come up with a new theory that has been debunked for a few years.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.